This is the European edition of Breaking Banks, the world's #1 fintech podcast and radio show. We bring you the European unicorns, startups, founders, regulators, and leaders innovating the rapidly evolving fintech scene today. A truly localized podcast with both English and local language content, with some of the world's most well-known hosts and influencers in the fintech sector globally. Join us every week as we explore what makes the European Union a phenomenal proving ground for many of the fastest growing fintech plays in the world today. Okay, let's roll.
Welcome to Breaking Banks Europe, the WebSummit Special Edition. I'm Megan Johnson. I'm joined with Shane Happach from Mollie, and this is the first of 10 different interviews we'll be running over the next few days. We're really excited to be here. It's been a bit crazy getting in, a lot of people, a lot of walking, but
what recession, right?
Yeah, crazy, but we've made it, and really excited to speak with you and get your sense of how you're feeling about WebSummit and your views on kind of the Portuguese. You have an office here, so it'd be good to talk about the ecosystem. But first, Mollie has never been on Breaking Banks Europe, so who are you and what is Mollie?
Thanks for having me. So I'm Shane, I'm Mollie's CEO. Mollie is a payment service provider predominantly focused on online and predominantly focused on the SMB segment. So started in the Netherlands and then has developed the service outward from there. So first went to Belgium and then later to Germany, France, and most recently to the UK.
Yep.
So we're about 700 people, about 150,000 active customers.
Super.
And reasonably contained footprint, so we're in all the local geographies from a kind of sales, marketing, and customer service perspective, and we have customer operations center in Mustard in the south of Holland, and most recently we announced 2 engineering hubs, one about 12 months ago in Lisbon.
Amazing.
Which we've been super pumped to get going and to get some staffing.
Great.
And we also announced that we would start hiring in Milan.
Super, cool. And so when you're working with SMEs, are you working on a particular segment? We're seeing a lot of kind of specialization within the SME space, or you just kind of the broader SME market?
Yeah, we cast a pretty wide net, so it's anybody that needs to take a consumer payment online. For small businesses, a lot of them during the pandemic pivoted to really focus on their online infrastructure, which has been great for consumers from a convenience perspective. You can get your groceries delivered, you can order wine, you can order clothing, you can order all sorts of things.
Order
medicine,
COVID tests.
Online COVID test booking. So, really, I think online spend, most people would suggest it's somewhere in Western Europe around 15% of total spend and continuing to kind of compound. So, we're always happy to help businesses get up and running, and we're lucky. We have many of our customers start small and turn into something much larger. So
having lived in a few European countries, I think, and the online payments experience isn't necessarily super smooth all the time. So anything that's helping create a more kind of seamless payment and checkout and this kind of end-to-end experience, I think, is very welcomed. Especially in Portugal. Sometimes it's a bit of a struggle. So Portugal, why did you choose Lisbon in particular to create the development hub?
Yeah, so our company went through a fantastic period of growth. We were really lucky. We raised a lot of capital. We decided to invest that capital straight away in trying to build out the team. We're Amsterdam based. Amsterdam is a wonderful place to run a business, but it's a small talent market. We're not the only company in the tech space to be located there. We're not the only company to be located there that raised capital.
Yeah.
So I think we just found the talent pool a little small, and we wanted to expand our footprint. We wanted to keep it close, so we're very European focused. We didn't want to go for a complete offshore nearshoring model. Our teams work really closely together to solve customer problems. So we did a bit of market scan, and Portugal's really an up and coming tech hub. So we're not leaning too far forward. There are some other companies that have a similar idea, but we looked at Spain, we looked at Italy, we looked at other places. I think for us it was about access to good talent, physical proximity, good infrastructure, but also we'd like to expand our service so we don't currently localized in Portugal yet, but we have a mission to cover all of Europe. So it's pretty logical that wherever we start with engineering talent, we could layer in commercial teams and really focus the product on Portuguese consumers. So.
That was going to be one of my questions. I mean, how are you localizing for the different markets? Because I think, while there's some similarities across the broader EU, you have a lot of different local payment methods, different setups and everything. So how does that localization aspect
I think we have to look at every aspect of the customer journey. So for us, it's everything from onboarding, every customer that we onboard, we have to collect different information. Business registrations differ between European geographies, ID documentation, and so on and so forth. AML, KYC regulation. Then you have the payments experience, which is about localizing the payment methods and understanding what the consumer preferences are, trying to help our businesses make sense of that too. I mean, we work with smaller companies on average. Most of them are not. They don't have the time and energy to really do deep research in terms of what they need to be offering. And they're price sensitive, so we try to help, also layer in lower cost payment methods, bank-based payment methods, SEPA direct debit, etc. So, and then there's the aftercare, so the ability to get somebody on the phone that speaks your language, the ability to interact and interface with us in local language, local time zone, etc. So quite a lot of work, but once you do it, I think customers really appreciate the experience.
I think it's super important to localize the product, and I think going back to Lisbon, as you said, it's a very up and coming place to be. There's so many attractive visas to get top talent in here. I mean, who doesn't want to live in a country where you have 300 days out of the year with sunshine, good food, good wine, the beach and everything. How do you think WebSummit plays a role in kind of creating this up and coming tech scene within Lisbon and in Portugal in general?
I think for the past few years a lot of people have been working remotely. I think a lot of people miss the contact, and I think technology, especially the space that we're in, we call it an ecosystem. I mean, we have hundreds of partners, we have loads of different integrations. All those are other businesses that are focused on our end market. So we work with accounting software providers, and there's lots of new ERP technology. So for us, we just want to make sure we're on the heartbeat of what would a business choose to run its software inside its company, and there's loads of different ways that can be done. So for us, it's a very rich ground to meet people, and we're building a brand. So we're not a massive company. We're very well known in the Netherlands, but we're trying to raise our profile in other markets, Germany, UK, etc. So for us, it's always good to get a bit of media attention and other things that help us get our name out there. And lastly, it's also access to talent. So last year I was on stage, we put a plug in, we said, hey, we're hiring. So I think the job market's fluid here too, right? So there's a lot of people that are always potentially looking out for their next gig, and it's good to get our talent brand going as well.
And this is what I love about WebSummit is that it's not like just limited to companies. They have a lot of opportunities for students and anyone interested in the space to join. So it's not.
Technology's taken out kind of a hard knock in the broader macro sense this year, but even really bearish people would tell you, look, it's inevitable. It's kind of a steady march of progress. It's in the long term. Everything will be touched by technology. So there's still quite a lot of things to be excited about, and quite a few companies that are doing just fine. It's not all doom and gloom.
So later today you'll be speaking on the MoneyConf stage, I believe. What will you be talking about? Our general subject matter that we like to talk about is, how do we empower small businesses? So it's very easy to see in difficult times how an Amazon will survive, throughout any plenty of runway, big team, huge amounts of resources, highly profitable business. So we're at the end of the market where people need a bit more support, and I also think there's quite a lot more disruption going on in small business. So. Whether it's things like access to capital or what does a banking service look like. I think a lot of people are asking themselves, there must be a more intelligent way to put this together. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and I'm joined by
another fintech leader who is in a slightly different business but has spent a long time in, for example, working at Cabbage and knows a lot of the ins and outs of SME. So we'll have a bit of a dialogue about what's going on in this space.
I mean, I know specifically in Southern Europe, like SMEs are at the heart and soul of the economy. So I think it's super critical to equip small businesses with the best technology to really help their business succeed and really empower them. And I think what's interesting is that it's not just like young people that are starting businesses. For example, my parents who are retired in the middle of Corona started an online business selling like quilting fabric, and when they told me for like a month, I didn't believe them. And so I think now, I mean, as you mentioned, like it's very easy for anyone nowadays to kind of start a small business, specifically an e-commerce small business. So I think what
a lot of the barriers have come down, but a lot of the barriers have gone up. I think going and get a bank loan right now as a small business is tricky. Supply chain and other things always hits the small guys first. So access to raw materials and products, and a lot of inputs have gone up. There's quite a lot of inflation. So the challenges are very real. So we work a lot on our aspect of the friction, and we're trying to expand the arena in which we feel like we can help businesses. So, and we're in the center of Amsterdam, so you feel the small business vibe there for sure. There's no Starbucks and McDonald's in the city center. You've got to go to the airport or the train station. So.
Yeah, that's what I love about Amsterdam. It's local. You feel that you're really doing something for the local economy when you kind of do any type of shopping, right? I think that's a big difference between like a London or some of the other major hubs. So looking to the future, what's on the roadmap for Mollie?
So the most recent product launch we did is we started advancing capital to small businesses. So that's been a huge hit, a ton of demand, and we'd really like to roll that out and get it to all of our end customers. So we've got a series of market launches planned for that before the end of the year. We started in the Netherlands, and then we've expanded out to the other geographies in which we trade. We're working a lot on the core payments product, right? It can always be better, additional forms of payment, additional refinements to the checkout. We have a mobile app that, a lot of our small businesses love, working on the go and just keeping track of what's going on. So working on that. I think next year as well, we want to get deeper into financial services. So what we've always said publicly after we raised our last round of capital is we think we can add in 3 really key areas. One is the capital product. The second is the account flow, so being more of an account-based service, a bank account or holding merchant funds. And then I think the last one is, we also see things around corporate card and expenses that is very clunky still. So a lot of very successful businesses targeting that. So we see that as working well within our payments proposition.
I mean, there's a lot of interesting companies to be inspired by. There's a lot of I think forward-thinking companies that are looking to make every aspect of the SME's life easier. And I think really the most important thing is to take away that, the time spent on financial management, to give them time to really grow their business and do what they love doing, which is why a lot of people, opt to become a SME or a micro business rather than in the big cog of a corporate.
And we often use the phrase, we want to take the enterprise grade technology and make it accessible for small companies. So that's about making things affordable, but also making them easy. I think a small company doesn't need to run SAP.
Exactly.
But they do need reconciliation and other tasks performed by this type of software. So the next generation of these tools is very focused on being a SaaS model or a pay-as-you-go. It's a little bit easier to consume, and then obviously at the end there's always a payment. So everything needs to talk to payments. So we're lucky that we're in the mission-critical infrastructure business.
Exactly. Cool. Well, Shane, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to seeing you on stage later today.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Thanks.
Let's talk about the future of payments. Your Breaking Payments exclusive series is here, and we are ready to showcase how FinTech has deconstructed the payments industry and is rebuilding it seamlessly as an embedded experience for the client. Stay tuned for new episodes every month on Breaking Banks Europe.
Welcome back to Breaking Banks Europe. We are still here at the WebSummit, and now with another great company that just went off the stage. We are here with Adrian Mizzi from Weavr. Welcome, Adrian.
Thank you, Francesca. It's
great.
Good to be
so
here.
Could you tell us a little bit more about Weavr? What's your role there? Actually, to be honest, we already had the company in an episode previously. I think was
with my co-founder Alex.
Exactly. And it was like 1 year ago. So maybe for those that doesn't know Weavr, can you tell us a little bit more about it?
Of course. So I'm Adrian Mizzi. I'm co-founder and CTO of Weavr. And Weavr is a 4-year-old company. At this time, it's our 4th anniversary, started about 4 years ago. And what we do is that we enable software businesses to be able to embed financial services within their solution. So our mission is to really make that as easy as possible for these software businesses to be able to offer financial services to customers. It's been an interesting journey, so a lot has happened over the past year since you've spoken with Alex, and I'd be very happy to go into more detail now.
Great. So we hear a lot talking about embedded finance, and many times I also hear this claim, let's say, like every company can be a fintech company.
Indeed.
Is that true? And what's your vision around that? Can you pinpoint a little bit better for us what embedded finance is, and what can we expect out of this new trend?
Yes, I think a good place to start from is that when you look at software companies who do software as a service, they have a product that they offer to their own customers. What they're typically doing is building software, taking code, libraries, tools from other places, plugging them into one solution and offering it to customers. And that's fairly straightforward. I mean, we all got used to that. But as soon as you venture into the financial services domain and you want to embed some financial functionality within your tool, you suddenly realize that it's actually quite hard. There are a lot of regulations, compliance requirements that you need to abide by. That suddenly there are two completely different worlds. The software world, where it's so easy to just put things in, and the financial world, where it is so hard. So that is where the idea of this embedded finance comes in, to try and bridge these two worlds, to be able to include these services within the software to offer them directly to customers.
Yeah, and which are the reactions you are seeing from one side, from the financial institutions, and from the other side, of course, for these non-financial institutions that want to enter in this field?
Yeah, so we do deal with different types of companies. The ones who want to build a fintech type of solution, so your standard create a bank account or issue cards and all that. But then there are also customers who are more focused on, they have an existing software business with which they have a service to their own customers that even without the financial services side, it stands on its own feet. And our focus is more on those type of businesses that are not the fintechs. They're not the ones who have the expertise or want to build the expertise, but really they do software, and for them embedded finance is a way to create more engagement with customers. So you're not just using the software for the features, but also there's a banking element in it, and also to increase revenues, because if you tap into money flows going through that your customer is doing, it really enables you to have that multiplier effect on revenues, not just the SaaS subscription, but also being able to tap into new revenue streams that weren't there before.
Yeah, definitely. And I've seen recently an amazing talk by Ben Marowitz from Booking.com explaining all their strategy about embedded finance and how to plug it in a company that is actually not a financial company. So it's really challenging, I suppose, but also very fascinating.
Indeed. Booking.com is a very good example. Maybe the poster child is more, everyone talks about is Shopify.
Yeah.
That's the SaaS revenue. I think this year or last year they reported something around $350 million, but their financial side, the way that they offered financial services, has grown outgrown it quite
Absolutely.
significantly, 850 million. So there's quite a discrepancy. One is an older type business, so it's been there for 13 years.
Yeah.
The other one much newer, maybe just over 5 years, and really growing much quicker,
Yeah,
at a
it's
quicker
really
pace.
impressive.
So
Really impressive.
that in itself is, well, many companies will not be able to do that, but there are a lot of startups that really look up to those companies like Shopify, like what Booking.com are doing, to be able to
Nice.
tap into that.
Great. And actually, we can share news because you just mentioned it also on stage. After these 4 years of very well established presence in Europe, you launched actually in Singapore.
Yes, officially today.
Officially today.
Yes.
That's great. So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
And it's really interesting because we have a close friend of Breaking Banks and FTS Group, which is Sopnendu Mohanty from MAS, the Singapore FinTech Authority. And it's really interesting because Singapore is one of the, if not the main fintech hub right now. And it has been such an amazing journey for them, starting from scratch to the point they are right now. So I'm curious to understand a little bit more the process that got you into Singapore and what do you expect out of that?
Yes, so the journey that we've been through, if I had to look back 4 years, it was just two co-founders trying to start a business here in Europe, starting to build relationships with banks and needing to launch a new service and hoping that it will work in a way. Fast forward a few years, we feel that we've established a bit of a base here, and there's a good take-up, partly due to also this focus on embedded finance, which it really
it
has,
is the buzzword right now, basically.
it has created a huge demand for our type of company. So for us, it was always kind of the intention to expand geographically and go global. So at the beginning of this year, we closed our Series A funding round, and that was the plan to get started on geographical expansion, with the US and Singapore as being the first two geographies that we would go to. Singapore just happens to be relatively quite easy for us, kind of to make that leap, also through connections that we've got, integrations that are in place. But for us, it's like repeating what we did in Europe and starting over in Singapore. In a way, we also want to prove that Weavr is not just a European solution. It is a global solution that can expand geographically, tackling one geography at a time, but yeah.
But that's good. It's one step at a time, and you're making such a nice journey till now. So I'm sure that Singapore will be your next big goal.
Yes.
So we are here at the WebSummit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this can be a great platform for you. How do you find the event, and what do you expect to get out of?
It's great. It's great. So it's my first time at the summit and in Lisbon, beautiful city. And so I'm just coming off a panel about how do you build a unicorn. So it's a panel with startups and companies along that journey of becoming a unicorn. So sharing our experiences with the audience. It was quite an interesting session, but it's a great place, and in a way it's the place to be, right? For the whole ecosystem.
It's huge.
Yeah,
It's my first time as well, so it's great to be here. It's an amazing event. That's true. So my last question for you, Adrian, is a little bit more about the future. Mm-hmm. So you already told me a lot of things about how do you see the next few steps of the company, but how do you envision the next 5 years of Weavr?
There are many plans, and sometimes it's challenging to do all the plans with the limited resources you've got. So there are different ways that we plan to expand. One of them is the geographical expansion, so moving to Singapore and US and other countries eventually. There is also an element of, we call it kind of capabilities that we offer. So today we are very much focused on issuing cards, different forms, virtual, physical, Google Pay, Apple Pay, and bank accounts to do SEPA transfers, faster payments and all that. So we are looking also to expand those capabilities by bringing in lending, credit, eventually crypto, insurance, and other services that can be consumed directly from the platform. But what I would probably highlight as one of the main points is we're embarking on this journey that we call plug-and-play finance, which we talk about it as it's a different way of doing embedded finance, so it's not in conflict, but the idea is that for these software businesses that we were just talking about that don't have the expertise, the existing solutions from banks today, like banking as a service, is just not enough for these companies to be able to offer their solution. You really need to build on top a compliance layer, which could be a compliance as a service type of solution, but the whole idea about plug-and-play finance is that you literally just plug it into the software and let us, Weavr, handle compliance for you, whether it is onboarding customers, transaction monitoring, risk, and anything that has to do with regulation, compliance, and all that.
As easy as it sounds. Thanks a lot, Adrian. Thanks for this call. Enjoy the rest of the event, and for the rest of the audience, let's follow Breaking Banks, and we're going to see each other for the next interview.
Thanks for listening to Breaking Banks Europe, a Provoke Media podcast in cooperation with FinTech Stage. Don't forget to tweet us out, shout out, or post to the team at Breaking Banks EU on Twitter. If there's something or someone you'd like to hear on our cast, let us know. See you next week on Breaking Banks Europe.